these blood tests you're talking about, what type of markers should everyone just go get tested so that at least they have a baseline?
Yeah, so we have pre-designed panels on the site for both men and women and depending on budget, it gets more comprehensive the deeper you go. And some of them are like more elaborate to then be insightful for if you were going to pursue something like hormone replacement, if you're postmenopausal or if you're a man with low T, whatever it is. There's more comprehensive metrics that are, more expensive and elucidate more stuff. But in general, from like a baseline perspective, I think cardiovascular disease is still one of the number one killers. So getting a high quality lipid panel that assesses your, kind of potential for atherosclerosis, I think is definitely warranted, at least to see what your current diet model and lifestyle is yielding as far as, atherogenic particles and whatnot. I think getting like a basic complete blood count is definitely reasonable. Thyroid markers, probably a good thing to check as well. Basic kidney health, liver function, it's called like a metabolic panel. It's kind of like the standard summation. I don't know. It's like a subcategory of pretty much every panel we have, I think. So I've definitely checked that. I guess in general, from a hormone perspective, above and beyond the thyroid, getting it's called gonadotropins. It's like your LH and FSH, your luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone. If you are a man, especially, definitely worthwhile to see how much signaling you have to your testes to actually produce testosterone. Because some people, cool. Yeah, so getting not just your total T and figuring out how much testosterone do I have, but also upstream to that, why do I have low T? Or why is my T where it is? Seeing how much of a signal you have from your brain down to your testicles is worthwhile, because then you can kind of evaluate, is it my testicles are non-responsive to the signal, or is it that I have a lack of signal? And then why is that the way it is? And kind of getting a more comprehensive outlook as to why you are functioning the way you are, and if it's, a lack of sleep or micronutrient intake or whatever it is. Because some people who are low T, your diagnosis and what you get treated with will differ, or lack thereof will differ very, very significantly based on, do you have enough signal going to your testes, but they're just not responding to it? Because at that point, that's where something like a intervention with therapy becomes more warranted, because it's like you literally have testicular failure. Whereas for another guy who's low T because of lifestyle and his sleep sucks, his diet sucks, whatever, he might have low T, but it's like his LH and FSH are super low too, because he just is everything from the baseline foundation is terrible. So that sort of thing is insightful to see, are you haphazardly getting on testosterone therapy and you don't need it? And if so, what could you do to then optimize like the whole reproductive axis kind of thing? So getting your LH and FSH checked, I think it's definitely worthwhile. Total testosterone, but above and beyond that, your free testosterone. This is like the hormone that is not like, it's called free because it's not bound to these like binding proteins in your blood that kind of like bring it around to target tissues. And free is kind of the number that dictates how much is actually freely available to do stuff in actual tissues in the body. So getting a total and a free is definitely worthwhile. And all of these, it sounds really complicated. It's like, how would, people are probably thinking, do I need to write notes or whatever? Like any good panel will have all of these things in it as is. As well, getting a fasting insulin, hugely overlooked. A lot of people are just checking fasting glucose, but fasting insulin is going to be very worthwhile to see how insulin sensitive you are. And this is one of the biggest tie-ins to like checking pre-diabetes risk, as well as, cancer cell development potentially. I think getting a fasting insulin is definitely very worthwhile. Vitamin D, a lot of people are very deficient in vitamin D. I definitely think that's worth checking. C-reactive protein, that's an inflammation marker that I think is worth checking as well. And there's a bunch of stuff, like I could go on all day, but those are kind of like the low-hanging fruit, I would say, off the top of my head. Yeah, I think that's a lipoprotein little a could be part of a good lipid panel as well. But other than that, it sounds like a lot of stuff, and it's very, very complicated to wrap your head around. It's like, holy shit, I don't even want to get this done because it sounds so complicated. But that's where having, just a panel that's made for you, everything's done, and then somebody interprets it for you who's qualified is definitely worth the money, in my opinion.